Hi, I'm Chap Bettis, author of The Disciple Making Parent, and this is my audio blog, where I read some of my blog posts in audio format for your convenience. In today's episode, we're going to be thinking about standing stones, how to increase faith in your children. Well, Joshua 4:5-7 says, "Go before the ark of the Lord your God in the middle of the Jordan. Each of you is to take up a stone on his shoulder, according to the number of tribes of the Israelites, to serve as a sign among you. In the future, when your children ask you, 'What do these stones mean?' tell them that the flow of the Jordan was cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it crossed the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. These stones are to be a memorial to the people of Israel forever." And that's found in Joshua 4:5-7. There are some events that can only be explained by God's supernatural intervention. Many times, God graciously smiles on us through less obvious providential dealings. His grace comes to us in daily provisions. But sometimes His hand seems to reach down and touch a circumstance that reveals His power in an obvious way. These miracles build our faith and are meant to encourage us. But then what? Well, in the Old Testament, we read about the custom of raising up stones. And these standing stones were to remind future generations of God's supernatural intervention. As a people, we tend to be forgetful. One method for remembering is standing stones, and there are a number of examples throughout the Old Testament. Jacob set up stones after God appeared to him in a dream and reaffirmed His covenant with him, and that's found in Genesis 35:14. Moses set up 12 standing stones at the bottom of Mount Sinai after the giving of the 10 Commandments, and you can find that in Exodus 24:2-4. Samuel raised up a stone after a particularly important victory. That's found in 1 Samuel 7:12. One of the most memorable marked events occurred when Joshua led the nation of Israel through the Jordan. To commemorate that event, Joshua was instructed to bring 12 stones from the bottom of the Jordan and stack them in the promised land. Even more fascinating is that there was to be a matching set of stones piled up at the bottom of the Jordan. They both stood as a witness to the miraculous intervention that had occurred there. Well, similarly, there are times that God acts supernaturally in our time. And when those divine interactions occur, we too need to take note of them and set forth some sort of visual marker. These markers will serve as visual reminders of God's action on our behalf. They'll help us have faith in times when we don't sense God's action. And they will enable our children to remember God's time of miraculous intervention. Well, how will you set up standing stones that will remind you to tell your children or grandchildren the works of God you've seen? Well, individuals and families can set up standing stones in any number of ways. Our family has used two methods. One is Christmas ornaments, and a second is a list in my Bible. For the first, we've taken a picture of the particular miraculous intervention and made a Christmas ornament out of it. And that helps us retell the miracles every Christmas. The list in my Bible is my own personal list of faith-building miracles. So let's celebrate this provision with a standing stone to remind us of God's provision. And let us notice other provisions that we might encourage the faith of our children and grandchildren. What about you? How might you set up standing stones that build your faith and remind you and your family of God's provision? Thank you for listening to the Disciple Making Parent audio blog. This post is an expansion of the material found in my book, The Disciple Making Parent. It's the premier book on family discipleship and has been endorsed by leaders such as Al Mohler and Tim Challies. You can find more information at thedisciplemakingparent.com. Thanks for listening.